Hello, this is National Chess Master Bill Richards, known as Rats at chess.com, and here's another video from our forums of the Rats video lessons group, where we invite our members to post, and we'll have one of our coaches come in and help you out, and I'm here to take a little bit of the pressure off them. And I found this interesting question. This position was submitted by a member, and he asks, what I would like to know is, what is the typical plan for white and black in this position and in positions with similar pawn structure? Okay, so we got two questions. All right, first off, let's just take the position he's sent us. Now, one thing to notice right away is white has a nice lead in development. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Okay, white's got every piece developed. The only exception, arguably, is the rook on f1. Technically, it's developed, but it's not placed on a better square yet. Okay, black has two pieces not developed: his queen and his queen's knight, and it's white's move. So, in effect, white is 2.5 tempos ahead here because he's got two extra pieces developed, and it's his move. Now, one general rule is you can sacrifice a pawn in the opening if you get 3 tempos for it, but white has not sacrificed a pawn. So the first thing is what's white's best move here? Now, white's got a number of good candidate moves, but let's play the most obvious one here. Well, I think it's obvious. Rook fd1. Well, white could also play rook ac1, but there's a reason for playing rook d1 here. Okay, now look at the development advantage white has. It's just striking. Okay, now we can answer the second part of his question starting right now. What should both sides strive for in this and similar pawn positions? Okay, what white wants to do is open up the board for his pieces since they're all better placed. Black has really no weakness in this position. He has some potential weaknesses. What does black have to show here? Okay, b4 is a good square for black. Maybe black should think about getting his knight to a6 and then to b4, okay, because that's just a good square for his knight. But there's a problem with that, and the problem is white's got a huge lead in development. So while black's implementing his plan, white's doing the same thing. If you just picture that knight on b8 on b4, what's it really doing there? It's not doing a heck of a lot. It's a great outpost, but in combination with the best of black's army, it's not really doing a heck of a lot for him, except for taking away one thing of white's, and that's what white's trying to do here. White's plan should be at some point to break open the game with pawn push to d5. That's what white should do. Why should white do that? Well, it's the only way to break open this position. White's not able to break with pawn to b4, and his only other option to break is a slower plan. Let me just back up the position a second. White could strive for king h1, rook g1, h3, g4, and then eventually g5. Now, how many moves is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Black gets 5 moves. He's going to get caught up in development and do his own thing here. What should black try to do? Well, black has basically 3 pawn breaks here. He's got pawn to b5, he's got pawn to c5, and he's got pawn to e5. Probably the most common sense one is to try for pawn to c5, but being behind in development, black doesn't want to open up this game just yet. Black needs to complete his development, and it's not exactly clear how black's going to do it. So we can do what I call play fantasy chess, and that's just my term for play out of line. Let's look at this move, rook d1, since that's one I mentioned. Okay, let's go ahead and try knight a6. Let's look at some candidate moves. Knight a6. Now, logical move is just develop another piece. Okay, let's put the rook on c1. Now black gets his knight to b4 in. Now, is white ready to play d5? Well, black's got another defender in there. Black's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders of d5. White's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attackers. So maybe white should back up and and play it here. Let's try it here. Let's see what happens. Okay, if black does nothing, white's got a threat to take on e6. So let's get rid of that threat and take here. Now notice the e file is opened up. Now what white's trying to do is take on c6. If white takes on c6, there's a discovered attack against the black queen. Okay, so probably black needs to take here. Now let's take again with knight d5. What does black do? White's threatening to play knight takes f6 check. He's also discovered attack against the queen. He's also threatening to play knight takes e7 check, winning a piece. So it looks like black needs to take. Now what does white do? Well, he's got some happy choices here. He can play bishop d5, and he's got a double threat. Bishop takes b7, discover attack on the queen, and bishop takes f7. Or white could just continue his development and play rook takes d5 and attack the queen, and when the queen moves, the queen's got to stay somewhere near this bishop. Wow, white just got this tremendous game. Where's black going to put his queen? If he puts it on b6, he drops the bishop, so he's going to have to play it to e8. It looks like. White's got a tremendous position. What's he going to do? Maybe rook e1, threatening to win a piece. So white has a lot of happy choices here. So it seems like the knight a6 move is plan of getting the knight to b4 is just doesn't have time. Okay, so like I say, if white plays this candidate move rook d1, what's black's other alternative? Well, let's get rid of some of the pressure on the d file. Let's develop. Okay, well, white does it anyway. That was what he's going to do. Let's do it anyway. Same threat. Pawn takes down here. Okay, now there's the threat of isolating the pawn. So rook c8 is a candidate move. Pawn takes d5 is a candidate move, although that improves the position of the white pieces. If rook c8, white can still play knight pawn takes, and if the rook takes back, the knight improves its position with knight d4, and then white's ready to put a knight in on b5, which suddenly is a nice outpost. So that leaves this, and it looks to me like white's just got this huge development advantage, and this is all because of the 2.5 tempos white was ahead. Black's got a bad game here. It's just simple, plain and pure, and it all has to do with the disadvantage of development. So let's back up the board, and let's help black out a little bit. Okay, since the question was what to do in similar positions, let's help black out by wasting some moves and let black catch up in development. Then we can better answer the question. Okay. Now, how are we going to? We're going to do it. We're going to put the queen on b6. Okay. By me retreating the bishop to c1 and then putting it back on f4, I've allowed black to develop his pieces. Okay. And the question is, what can white do any better here? Is white primed to play d5 now? Let's see. We've got bishop, knight, and pawn on it. Okay, so d5. Black has 2 pawns and a knight on it. Something's hanging down there. See it? That bishop on e7. So queen b6 may not be any good. It allows d5. Okay, let's try rook e8. Now let's get this d5 move in, since that's what white wants to do. Okay, now we have a threat. Okay, so let's have black deal with it. Now, kind of interesting, black has some discoveries. Bishop f8, bishop c5, bishop d6 might even be good. Get some exchanges here. Let's try bishop d6. Okay, try and free the game up a little bit. Now we'll take the pawn. Now white has a threat on well, no, he's not threatening f7. He's threatening b7. Black's got some choices here. He could play knight c5, attacking the discovering an attack on the bishop. Black could play queen b6, developing the queen and securing b7. So just a little bit of development makes all the difference in the world. Okay. So Black seems to be defending this position much better simply because his development was fine. So let's back up the board a little bit. As I said, what White wants to do is break with d5. What's Black's breaks? I mentioned b5, c5, and e5. Well, e5 is kind of out of the question. It's too well defended. So instead of playing rook e8, let's see what happens if Black tries c5. That may not be a good idea. It's giving up this outpost on b5 to White, whereby Black is not posed to take the counters, but c5 is a break. How does White take advantage of it? Well, he could try d5. Now, what can Black do? How does White want to retake? Well, he's got a nice passed pawn here. That seems to be enough to give White something to play for. Now you're threatening to win a piece. So Black's not quite ready to break c5 because of the advantage of the first move and the fact White has a nice pawn center, and Black is just striving to maintain equality, and Black cannot be the aggressor. That's one thing. We want to be aggressive. We want to play the opening breaks, the ways to get the position opened up, but Black, who still hasn't completed his development, has a slightly inferior position. White has better board room. Black's just going to have to roll with the punches here and let White do things. Now, if White doesn't develop, maybe Black has some chances here. Okay, let's play a little more fasty chess. Okay, let's put Black ahead in development and see if that helps White in any way. Let's make sure I'm at where I want to be. Okay, let's let Black get developed. Okay, so instead we're going to play. Wait, it's Black's move. Okay, rook e8. I was suggesting. Now let's put the bishop back on c8. Okay, now we'll play this rook here and bring the bishop back. Now suddenly it's Black who's a little ahead in development. Black has developed both rooks. White hasn't. Okay, now can Black get away with a break here? Question was, what about c5? That was the one break he was trying for. Okay, let's go with d5. How's White going to retake? If he takes with the pawn, he's got his pass pawn, but Black has some discoveries here to liquidate things. Okay. And then knight b6, which threatens, put some heat on that pawn. Plus, it's threatening to acquire the bishop. How's White going to handle this? d5 is under attack, although it's going to run into a pin. But if White preserves his bishop, let's see, bishop b3, Black suddenly gets possibilities of getting c4 in. If b3, okay, let's look at b3. Give up the bishop pair. Well, it's not the bishop pair. It's just giving up the bishop for the knight. Black probably can't play knight takes d5 because he's running into a pin. But my gut instinct simply is because Black has got development here, that he should find a way to maintain equality. You know, White's got that nice pass pawn, but Black's okay. Let's see. If Black takes on c4, White takes back with the b pawn. Got great outpost on b5 for a knight. The b7 pawn is weak. How's Black going to play this? One way to play it is rook c7 with the idea of rook d7. Let's try that. I think d6 is premature. It's going to get that pawn a little too far advanced. But maybe not. I don't know. Let's see. D7. We're going to use this B5. This is just one line. This B5 outpost. Okay, so let's get rid of the bishop. Play rook E6. You know, Black's got he's got some activity now. Now he's threatening to pile up on that pawn on D6. The idea is knight E8, and Black's on it, going to be on it 4 times. What can White do in the meantime? Well, he can get knight E5. That might be winning the exchange. Yeah, I missed that a little earlier. So Black's still not ready to be the one doing the breaking, but he's got that much more of a playable game because he has development. So the best way to answer the question, what should the strategies be in this type of pawn structure, is the better development does the breaking. And I think that answers our question, the initial question. Whoever has the better development does the breaking. Let's go back to the beginning. And I was, again, burning moves just to make a point so that we could see how play would go, because chances are you're not going to reach this exact same position, but you could run into a few other similar ones. So it's a very interesting question, and certainly a very, very interesting position. All right, thanks everybody for their time. Take care.